Day Guam. Hello, world. Welcome back to the Social Progress Podcast. I am your host, Guam's social progressor, and I am so grateful and excited for the topics that we are going to talk about today. We are going to wait for our co host to jump on, and we will get this thing started. I think we're here. Boom, boom, boom. How is everyone doing? Our Thanksgiving. Love's World. Half
Hi,
a day.
how's it
Hey,
everyone?
hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I am doing good. I just want to apologize to everyone in advance. Today's like a kind of chill, slow day for me. So I'm just chilling. So yes, I'm so excited for our live today. If you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself and just kind of your position in Guam's Youth Climate Strike.
All right, that'd be great. Half a day, everyone. Maria S.T. Duenas Marques. I'm the Creatives and Education Sector Lead for Guam Youth Climate Strike, which is basically an organization that is comprised of youth on Guam, and we focus on issues like climate change, food sovereignty, transportation. We have a very broad kind of spectrum of topics that we work on, yeah.
Awesome, amazing. And for everyone tuning in, just tuning in, por favor, if you guys can just use the question box for any questions or comments, so that way we can chat, we can catch them. For myself and for Soul, most especially. I'm so sorry we couldn't get more people on. I really tried to figure out Facebook, because you can get multiple people, but the goal is just to get you guys on and hear your message, so that's okay.
Yeah, I actually was in contact with Kyle and Boss when you let us know about that. So we kind of all got together and they told me all the things that they wanted me to add into the podcast. So yeah.
Awesome, amazing. So yeah, let's just get started. And I know you kind of briefly touched upon it, but can you just explain to us a little bit more what you guys do exactly at Guam's Youth Climate Strike?
All right. So Guam Youth Climate Strike again is a organization that is comprised of youth around Guam. We focus on issues like climate change, food sovereignty, public transportation, mostly environmentalism as well as emotional intelligence, and overall just trying to improve the community of Guam for the next generations. Yeah.
Yes. What are some things that you guys do in the community to kind of advocate you guys' work and also get connected and kind of like encourage the community to get involved?
So we do a lot of research as well and post infographics. I feel like well personally I as the sector lead for education believe that education is very very important, and that's where it all starts. If you look at a lot of activists and they talk about their stories, it all usually started in a classroom with a teacher who wanted to teach a lesson on climate change or something. And so we do a lot based off of education. We're working on a project right now that involves putting together lessons on stuff like climate change and the Green New Deal, and presenting them at schools around the island via Zoom.
Wow, that's so amazing. I think that just, wow. I super appreciate you guys doing that. Because like I shared with you guys before, when I was younger, this wasn't really a topic of discussion. Of course, the effects of, what we do to our planet was there. When I was younger, it just wasn't as crazy as it is right now. It wasn't as bad as it is right now, and it wasn't really talked about that much. So, just for a side note for anybody listening, even though we may have not done anything or fully talked about it, expressed it, worked on it, whatever the case is, it's never too late to get in and to join in on the movement, or even to just join in on the educating of yourself and the effects that the things that we do that can affect the planet. So, just wanted to say that as a side note for anybody out there. Yes, guys, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. This is Sol. She is with Guam's Youth Climate Strike. So if you guys can please, I will tag them down below, but also at the end of the live, if you guys have any question, put for butt, use the comment box so that way we can get those questions to Sol. And so yeah, I had a question that I sent to the chat, and I know that it's not just like a one thing, like, you guys are gonna have all the answers, but I sent you guys that article that I came across with the beaches kind of being like contaminated. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I do know that with a lot of issues such as tourism and stuff, pollution has been a very, very large problem on Guam. One of our members, Nico, he knows a lot about, and he's done a lot of research and looked into these studies and these public hearings that revolve around public waste, and it has been a very, very large issue on Guam for a very long time. So that's one of those things that contribute to it. Yeah, definitely. Guam is a small island. It's very difficult to get rid of waste, and not recycling is not very a big thing here. And even if it was, the recyclables that go to Asia, most of the time they just go into landfill anyways if they're not properly sorted.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of like shocking for me to read that article because it was basically saying, and this is just, from the article. I didn't do any deep research or, find any like legitimate like sources. It was just an article I came across and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna like message these guys." But it was so crazy because the article was basically saying that some of the beaches are so polluted that like if you go into the water it can cause like vomiting or sickness, and I'm like, our waters are supposed to heal us, not make us sick, so that's a huge
Yeah,
issue.
it's really, really sad when we look at what our island is like becoming right now. If you really sit down and look at it, it's become so normalized. We're so used to it because we grew up with tourism and we grew up like, with the beaches already, like all the coral bleaching and everything. So we're just so used to it now. And I feel like if our people really understood what was going on, there is no way that we would be okay with it.
Yeah, and that's a good comment, and I guess that can lead into my next question is, what can people kind of do themselves, to educate themselves, like basic simple tips, just to educate themselves, besides from, of course, supporting groups like you guys' group and just kind of being aware, like watching videos. Is there any like simple basic tips to suggest?
Well, I do feel like it's very important just to, well, it's education, it's going out of your way because sometimes, you're not going to have that teacher who does a lesson on climate change, or you're not going to have that group that does a presentation. Sometimes you're going to have to figure those things out for yourself. So if you see it and you're interested in it, keep looking into it, and also look into people, because this is not, we're not the first people to start, fighting for climate change. There have always been activists who focus on environmentalism, and it's important to look into those movements and really do research and just, yeah, basically educate yourself, and but a wide range of sources and stuff, so you're not like in an echo room, if you're familiar with that term, echo room, where it's just like all the same things.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's just a part of educating ourselves. And I think it's another thing too where it's challenging to say because we can't like force people to do something or to learn something, but I feel like maybe we can get more creative of ways to communicate to the general public in regards to the effects of climate change. Just because it's like you said as well, if it's something that we're interested in, to really do the research, but it needs to be a thing where we have to kind of like show each other that like this is something like we want to be interested in.
Yeah. Well, that too. I do feel like it's also really important because to learn about these different audiences, like learning how to write bills and resolutions, so that you can really like get into, like, I don't know what the word is, official, world of things, and also learning more about creative things and making art. There's all these different parts of activism. You can make art that expresses your emotions for this, or you can really learn the legal terms and stuff, and take things and do public hearings and participate in those things. So there's all these different aspects that you can, yeah.
Right. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it as well, is that there's so many different ways that we can do it and kind of get creative with a message, that it's not just like one set thing. Like people think, like for example, with me, I'll use myself as an example. It's like when I think of spreading the education, I think it's like going out and just like convincing everybody like that does not want to be, and just like learning all these things, and all these different, like whatever the case is, which is important, but it just kind of gets like unmotivating, because I know that there's people out there that are not going to be so open to it. So it's just a matter of kind of like getting creative with it, I guess, and just doing what we can, like not straining ourselves from it, because there are going to be people, or there are going to be situations where it's challenging. So just being creative and doing what we can, really.
Of course, yeah.
um to go on, I know that you guys are a youth group. If you can talk a little bit more about that, and any kind of like things to say to any of like the young people out there, anybody out there in general, as far as like joining your group or just joining, this movement.
Oh, definitely. I feel like no matter who you are, what your class is, what your race is, everything, climate change is something that affects us all. On some form or another, we will all see the effects of climate change. So it's not really, it's a lot of people kind of stray away from certain movements under the impression that, oh, this is not my movement, or like, this doesn't concern me. Well, you can't really use that card here because this affects us all, Um, so I do think it's important for us to realize that there really isn't an excuse to be active in some form, or not, at least not like ignore it. You don't have to be like on the front lines active, doing everything, but there are small things that you can do. Like if you have the money to, you can donate to different organizations. There is always going to be a way for you to be active in the community, and sometimes you're going to have to find those ways yourself, but there will always be, and there's no excuse to not, really.
Yeah. And Kyle, good job, Soul. Yes, good job, Soul.
Yeah.
We're doing so great. I'm so excited. I'm so honored. Hello, Kyle. I'm so glad for you guys to be here, and that you guys blessed me with coming on and sharing about your guys' group and you guys' efforts on the podcast. So that's greatly appreciated. And speaking of little things that we all can do, um, what are tips that you can give like people at home, as far as pitching in to help um, with climate change? I saw your message. Thank you, Kyle, for that super great tip. Woo!
Well, there is a common misconception that environmentalism is one of those things that you can do.
So you guys can check them out,
Oh, there you go.
especially being on Guam. There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry, Soul. You cut
Sorry,
out.
I cut out.
Yeah, so
Oh,
common
cut out.
misconception. Did
Okay.
did I cut out on your end?
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, I'll just restate my thing. Okay.
Yeah, common misconception. I wanted to catch that.
Of course. Okay. So there's a common misconception that environmentalism is something that we can go about individually. I guess we, in some way we can, but not necessarily. You do see a lot of products and companies that kind of capitalize on this idea of being eco-friendly. Like, you'll go to the store and you'll see like, oh, this is the eco-friendly version, or we use recycled plastic in this one, right? And you have a perfectly fine toothbrush at home, but you're like, this is the eco-friendly toothbrush. Let me get this one. And it's wrapped up in plastic already, and there's all these things. And because of this, the rise of this movement, it's natural with any movement. There's going to be people who try to capitalize on it, and you see, obviously, there's so many companies that are already capitalizing on it. And so, I guess my number one tip, this is so important, is just use what you have at home already. Use the toothbrush that you already have. It might be plastic and whatever, but it's what you have, and it's better than going out and buying a new one that looks eco-friendly. As well as with clothes, you see people who buy a bunch of clothes, but it's eco-friendly, whatever, but there is really no ethical sourcing from, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. So, unless you actually do need to buy new clothes, then you're fine with everything that you have in your closet already.
Yes, 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 yes. And how are you guys doing back home? Are you guys is the group looking to recruit some more help? Are you guys just kind of like, good with what you guys got? Is there anything, the community can do to kind of support you guys with what you guys are doing?
Well, we're always open to having new members. We're kind of discussing right now what our recruitment seasons are going to be. Definitely during the summer when people are out of school, we are accepting a lot of members and getting a lot of members in. But obviously, as school turns around, since we're youth, a lot of us are in college or in high school. Our middle school, there's some middle school members. A lot of people are less active and stuff. And so definitely during summer when people have free time is when we get a lot of members. But we're always open to new members, always.
Amazing. All right. Well, definitely share the information and I will be sure to pass it along. And again, for everybody just tuning in, I think a question came through. Where can I find Guam's Youth Climate Strike? It's spelled just as is. They're on Instagram. I'm going to tag them after the live. And I also pinned them right here. I don't know where it went, if it left. I pinned their Instagram as well. But yeah, guys, keep the questions coming in. Please give some questions to Saul in regards to all the things that we're talking about. And so I just wanted to touch a little bit more about just the basic stuff at home that we can do to help what everybody out there is already kind of like frontline doing with um, you know, um, I want to be careful with my words. I don't know, Kyle, is it eliminating or is it helping to pause or just, basic tips like, for example, instead of using water bottles all the time, I started using a reusable bottle. Just little stuff like that. Do you have any other simple,
Well,
basic at-home stuff?
there is like I guess there's a lot of basic things like that. There are a lot of like like I was saying, there's a lot of products that you can get that are that kind of cut your waste and stuff. But it is important to recognize that just doing that doesn't really really confront the real issue. You know what I mean? When like when we look at it, there's big industries like the hotel industry, the military being one of the number one polluters in the entire world, the fashion industry as well. I think it's important to like recognize these things and look actually like know what you're doing, instead of just getting getting like reusable things and being like, okay, I'm good, my work's done here. I think, because in the grand scheme of things, the difference that it makes compared to like confronting the real issue. And so I think
It's like a
there are
bigger thing.
yeah, I think it's important to recognize like the really big thing, like if you like your friends who, use private jets, or like I don't have friends who use private jets, but people who use like the boats that, have a lot of gas emission, as well as like people who celebrities who use private jets and stuff. I think it's important to recognize that and be like, hey, okay, that's really, really wasteful. Or just in yourself. I think because the fashion industry is the second biggest polluter after the military. And so I think one of the biggest things, and easiest things you can do, of course, is with your clothes, instead of throwing it away, consider donating it to a thrift shop or donating it to one of your old friends. Just really, trying to stop it from going straight to landfill and, getting the most use you can out of it, because there's so much clothes, if you really think about it, that go into landfill. If you look at the pictures, it's insane.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so I think that's where I was going with that, because like I was thinking as well too, the things that we do at home, it's thoughtful and it's helpful, but like you said, there's bigger things out there that are causing so much, like, the things that the military does, the equipment they use, the flying with the jets and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So really, like, what I'm getting out of this is just kind of like educating ourselves, digging more deep into it, and really, I guess, would you say, just from your opinion, the podcast for everybody tuning in again is just this is just us hosting conversations, and seeing what we all think with the work that we're already doing and how we can help each other. And with that being said, do you I just lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this? Kyle? No. What was I just talking about? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you're saying like the
Oh,
thing is educating. Okay, did you find it?
educating.
Yeah.
Yeah, educating ourselves. But what I hear you saying is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that what I hear you saying is that the thing we need to do is hold each other accountable for like where we invest, like you said, the fashion industry with the clothing and stuff, and then just all the flying and sorts. Is it a thing where we also need to come together to kind of hold these big things like the military and the fashion industry, kind of hold them accountable, or kind of like get creative with showing them the effects that's
Well, that's a really important part about it. I do believe that consumerism is like it's so much more prominent than it's ever been. And obviously we can't just like go straight to like holding these huge industries accountable. I mean, as a collective we can. And how do we get each other as a collective? We have to, educate people and really make them understand, like on an emotional level, like what is going on. Because you see a lot of people who will repost an infographic about climate change and be like, all right, enough activism for today, but
done. Yeah.
if we have a large amount, if we have everybody together who is emotionally driven about these issues all together, a lot of big things can happen, and we see that happen with different movements. And
Yeah.
yeah, I do feel like, and part of that is holding each other accountable and not really being shy to be like, hey, this is like the third time this month that you went and had a huge shopping spree. You should calm down a little bit, and this is why.
Yes, of course. And another thing about that holding each other accountable as well is that I actually follow this group. They're super amazing. They're called Vintage Stock Reserve, and they actually make clothing. Besides recycling and advocating and kind of like being on the front lines and doing things every single day as far as spreading information in regard to climate change and the effects of it. They also do clothing as well, where they like get recycled clothes and they remake it. And so their goal with that is to really like speak to the fashion industry and let them know like, hey, like if we can like get these clothes that were thrown out and were donated or were like considered like done or lost or like it's no good and we can repurpose it, then so can you. They really inspire me all the time. You guys should definitely check them out and see the stuff that they do. And who knows, maybe even doing some sort of collaboration or whatnot, but they definitely do a lot of good stuff over there.
Yeah, I sew and I make a lot of my I make a lot of my clothes. So I do that, when I
Nice.
grow out thing, I'll use the fabric and then I'll make it into something else. We all know that the fashion industry is like one of the biggest, and definitely a lot of people consider this age of very high consumerism. A lot of people nickname it the fast food age, because everything's going in and out. You will go into Forever 21 one day, then walk out, then come back in next week, and there's a whole new collection, and everything that there was before is just like, thrown out. It's insane. And people, trends are moving a lot faster. If you look back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, even maybe even 90s, before social media, trends didn't move that fast. You can easily have one outfit that would describe what the entire, maybe two outfits, maybe three that describe the entire era. And now if you look at 2010s, 2020, we have all these different trends, like so many different trends that we went by. Even just this year, there was like a bunch of different, like vastly different aesthetics that were in trend. And it's insane because people are just redoing their wardrobe over and over and over. And that's so much fabric from all these different young people.
Right. Yeah. No, I had a friend who worked at it wasn't Forever 21. Uh it was like another big store, but she both basically like posted a video talking about how when like they're done with their set or whatever of clothing that they just toss it out.
Yeah.
And so even the employees tried to like convince them. Man, I'm trying to think what store that was, but even though employees were trying to convince them to either donate the clothing or to, places like thrift shops, like you said, or even donate it to the employees, and they just kind of had like this rule, like, oh no, it has to go, and it was like they were like, it's going into the trash, and it's
It's like
like
they're trying
these
to be wasteful.
so yeah, I guess it's just a matter of holding each other accountable and being mindful, educating ourselves, which I thank you, Sol, for everything you've been talking about so far, because it's been helping me to kind of understand and learn as well what I can do, to be mindful. Do you do you I had one more question. Oh, so how can like the community, I know you shared it earlier, but just for anybody coming in and just to kind of like close out, how can the community help you help Guam's Youth Climate strike or support you guys with everything that you guys are doing?
I guess I would say like the community around Guam, one of the biggest things, obviously, is to consider joining the organization. That's definitely one of the ways you can get like full on into what we're doing. And we have different, all these different projects that we're doing. It might not be like might be working on like one of these bigger projects, or you might just be doing a presentation, or you might be, or me doing a live stream here, or you might be making art. We have all these different things that you can do. I think that's really important is, seeing everyone's different strengths and getting them involved somehow. So yeah, I would definitely say if you want to help our organization, I would just suggest, just going all full in and joining the organization because there's all these different things that, we believe people have to offer, that so anyone could really join and benefit us.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. Um, so I wanted to get a little bit into like the testimony side of things. Of course, everybody knows
That was
with the
fun.
social yeah, with the Social Progress podcast, I really try to get into the real emotions, the real thoughts of things. The goal is always to show that we're having real conversations and really just kind of break the silence towards silencing ourselves with these topics. So, just to kind of start, how do you feel being a young person and kind of getting pushback? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but just kind of getting pushback to the work that you guys are doing because I know you guys probably do get pushback with certain people, certain things that you guys are doing. So, how do you feel being like a young person and kind of getting that from like older people?
I guess every now and then you'll have older people, and because like we're doing the same work as a lot of people, we're all in the same field. Me personally, I'm also part of the Finogi Coalition, and there's me, and then there's also people who are so much older than me. Then there's like people who are like maybe 30, and then there's people who are like really old and have been there. And so there's this, there can always be a weird dynamic, and I guess as a Chamorro, because I'm Chamorro, part of it is also, you know, respecting it. And, you know, I do have to acknowledge, like, I've only really been very active. And I mean, like, active, like, I mean, I've known about these issues for a long time, but I've only really actually been active for maybe like the past like 2 years, honestly. Like, at the very most, maybe like 2 years. And so there's so much that I actually really know. And it's just important to stay respectful, you know? Being able to differentiate, that's what my mom told me, you know, because it's important to respect your elders, you know, because that's just really, really important. But also being able to differentiate and actually listen to what they're saying and being able to, like, know in yourself, know in your heart, okay, are they being wise or are they just being arrogant, you know, because it's so easy to just cross the line from being wise so fast. So it's just important to differentiate and listen to what people are saying and figure out in yourself if you think that they're, you know, and think in yourself, do they actually deserve your respect or not, you know?
Right, yeah. And I'm glad you actually brought that up. That's a good point. Because my mom and I were just, sometimes we talk about this as well. And do you feel, because I know, right? And I mean, I know. And I was born in like 1990, so it was like a little bit stricter back then. There's a little bit more leniency today, but I can't speak for everybody, but just speaking personally from my experience, my family, and the kids and stuff. Do you feel like that's like the way to go as far as like, oh, you have to respect your elders? Because like you said, and this is my personal opinion, is of course, yes, you have to respect people, including your elders, but when it comes to a topic like that, or as well with me always advocating for mental health, it's important for us to use our voice and to express how we feel compared to kind of suppressing it in. And I just feel that times have changed as far as communication, and some older people are still going to be like in those ways where it's just like my way or no way. So I guess you probably answered that already with what you shared, but yeah, so you're saying like to just differentiate, right?
Yeah,
Like to
I
me.
feel like if you are like on a default setting, you know, like if you're gonna be on a default setting, you know, every time you meet somebody, I think like the default should be like the older someone is, the more you respect them, you know, just already. And depending on what they say, how they treat you and whatever, that can change, right? But like if it was like a meter, if it was like a meter, like respecting them and not respecting them, when you meet them, it should be very high, and whatever they do and say will alter it. And if they're younger and you meet them, maybe it'll be like in the middle, you know, and whatever they do or say might change that, you know. That's how
Right,
I
right.
see it. That's how I, yeah.
Got you. Yeah, yeah. No, because there's definitely people out there where and I'm just gonna say on Guam because again, speaking for myself, and we're very just like super cultured and like, family oriented, and like it's important to respect each other and all of that stuff. But I've gotten into some things with some family members or even some friends where it's like I'm right and you're wrong. And it's like, okay, so you don't even care about like you're mentally damaging me right now and that's okay for you? Like you're right, that's fine. Like so it's just I guess a process of relearning that. But for me with
Well,
my experience, if you come across the right person that who's trying to do the right thing, like a lot of people, a lot of the elders from Guam, even though they may have a different opinion from the young people, I feel like there's a lot of them that kind of like break that barrier and be like, okay, like I understand this is not like how I'm feeling it or how I'm thinking, but they still encourage us to do what we're doing.
I think you can disagree with people but still respect them. And that's the thing, you know, I think like there should be from both sides, from both the young people and the old people, because you also see like not just old people, I guess, disrespecting young people, but you also see a lot of young people disrespecting old people, you know, and just being like, okay, whatever, you don't care, you know. And if I think the thing that we need to do, and I
I
was
want to get it.
one of my mentors, Joni Kerr, was telling me like from both sides, like both sides really need to, like, you know, for us to really make progress, we both need to, you know, stop being arrogant and stop thinking one side's better than the other, or stop, you know, thinking that one side, deserves to be disrespected, deserves to be respected less than the other. And in Chamorro culture, we believe that, or at least like what I was taught growing up, is that, we both respect, both the elders respect the young people, the young people respect the elders. And I guess, and that could be in different ways, like how a young person would respect an elder is definitely so different than how an elder would respect a young person. But
Yeah.
it goes both ways.
Yes, of course. Agreed. Thank you for answering that. How do you feel like, I don't know if you've ever got into experience with this, which I think you guys do because you guys are all like a youth-led organization. How do you feel if you have ever gotten kind of like pushback from young people, or young people kind of like made fun of what you guys are doing, or kind of put it
Oh,
down? Have you ever gone through that? And how does that make you feel as just kind of like a young person as well, trying to like make a difference, and then you see other young people like, you know what I mean?
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Ooh, that one hit a little close to home. So,
Testimony.
up until yeah, really, up until 2020, activism wasn't, and feminism and all of that stuff wasn't very. It's not really something that people would be prideful of. Up until 2020, and then you saw a lot of like middle class people who were like, yeah, I'm an activist now. But before that, it wasn't really something that was trendy, per se. And I've been, really active in stuff for like maybe like the past 2 years. And I remember just like last year, just, freshman year, I would say something and everyone would be like, oh, God, look at this like feminazi. Are you familiar with that term? It's like one of those, like, it's like a very, very radical woman. And, I'll say something, I'll be like, hey, that's a little misogynistic, don't you think? And they'll be like, oh, this feminazi, oh my God, blue hair, and it's like, I feel like we have this kind of, a lot of people make like a joke out of activism, and activists, like they're so radical and they're wild, they're just insane, or they're like crazy, or, you see a lot of the people in the demilitarization movements, they're kind of framed as like hippies or like tree huggers or whatever, or like these like weird, like hippie, like, just hippie tree people, and it's very disrespectful. And we don't really a lot of those people don't take the time to listen what these people are actually saying. You see a lot of people just like kind of just, basically make stereotypes about activists and their movements and make them into jokes, make them into comedy skits about the crazy feminist. And
So how
I
does
definitely,
that make you feel?
um, I'm such a facts person. I didn't even get into that.
No, I love it. Thank you for sharing the facts, because the legit facts, like I dig it. And like it's totally true. And that's the reason why I asked that question, is because I want everyone to kind of hear on both ends, not just, pushback that we get from elder people or people who've already been doing it. Because I have experienced people saying like, oh, like I check up on them like, hey, how's the like advocacy stuff with, the environmentalism and all of that going? And they're like, oh, we kind of like pushed it off because like we met like these other groups and they were kind of like telling us like we were doing it wrong, or like they already have it, quote unquote. And that was just really upsetting for me to hear, because it was like there's never enough help. Like there's never like there's no limit to how much people can help. And it's definitely disappointing when I see that coming from older people, because it's like, how are you going to tell that to a young person? Like, we're supposed to be teaching the youth, not pushing them away. And that's like the number one thing on my podcast, is just amplifying youth voices, because a lot of the times I experience, professionally and personally, where we're always trying to tell the kids what to do, how to be, whatever the case is, take their voices away, which I understand to a certain extent, because of course kids have to work with their parents, parents have to teach the kids, parents have to raise the kids, right? But it's
Yeah.
one thing when you're like raising them, and it's another thing when you're telling them like, if you disagree, like I said, drawing back to conversation and differentiating, if you disagree with what the kid is doing, that's fine and dandy. And I'm not, judging anyone's parenting or telling them how to parent, but I just think that it's fair to also hear the kids out, because then we've seen results where the kids will lash out, like they'll run away, or all this behavioral problems, and we're like, why are they doing that? And I'm like, but
Yeah.
you know,
Um, Definitely like that's something like I was saying, my mom really taught me that like differentiation, is so important, because it's not just black and white. It's not like, if you look at it, like it's the way a lot of ways people will frame this argument, and a lot of ways I've seen teens talk about this, they're like, how come parents don't just let me go out whatever all the time, and then you see like parents who are like, I wish that they could just stay inside all the time, and it's just like I think the important thing is not, like getting in the middle and being able to differentiate, because sometimes, we're like, come on, we're teens, our hormones are insane. We're consuming this media that
developing
makes us think a
differently.
certain way, like we're not that smart, and I'm 15. So, I'm just saying like there are definitely times when I've been like, God, mom, why didn't you let me do this thing? That's all I wanted to do, mom. You're ruining my life. And now I look back on it and I'm like, that thing wasn't that important,
That was dramatic.
Yeah, like I'll like be like, Mom, God, why didn't you let me go to my friend's birthday party? My life is over. And then I'll look back on it and I was like, it wasn't that big of a deal, So I think the
Right.
importance is both sides, and it's always going to be both sides, coming to a compromise, are both seeing each other out, talking
Yes.
from both sides. Yeah. And, I think like for me, one thing that really helped me out was understanding from my mom's point of view, because I used to be very, very upset because my mom wouldn't let me go out all the time, and I would, and it kind of sucked, and then I talked to my mom about it, and I kind of put myself in her shoes, and I look back on a lot of the things that I've been through and she's been through, and I will be very brief on this, but definitely like as a woman, there's a lot of stuff, and I kind of forget like about the things that my mom knows that I've been through. And if I look at it and I'm like, if I was a mother and my daughter, and I know she had experience with something that had happened in her life that put her in a lot of danger, why would I would be it would be very difficult for me to ever let her go out again. So I guess
Yes.
it's just
Yeah.
really like understanding why your mom feels that way. It's not like she's out here to make your life awful. It's like there's a reason
Yes.
behind the thing.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for that, Soul. I see a lot of new faces coming in, Pufa, but guys, use the question boxes. Ask some questions to Soul about the topics we're talking about, whatever the case is. And Soul, if it's okay with you, I wanted to share briefly to piggyback off what you were saying as far as like not being able to go out and being a female. Because since we talked about it, I actually talked about this the other day with a friend, and I was telling her like, hey, I actually wrote a paper. It's in Psych 100, and it basically was talking about like any like issues that we had as a child, like any frustrations or anger or just like disappointments we had. And in my paper, or kind of like parenting lifestyle, parenting ways. And in my paper, I wrote that like, oh, my grandma wouldn't like ever make me go out anywhere because um she would always let my brother go out. She would always let like the boys go out. She would never let me go out. And then in my paper I was writing about like my grandma would tell me like, "Oh, who are you going to go with?" And I start saying all these names and it's all girls. And she's like, "Legitimately," and I'm like in middle school and she's like, "What would you do if a man came up to you guys and he was drunk and he started trying to talk to you guys or try to take you guys?" And then
Mom's
in your head as a middle schooler, right? You're like, "Grandma, why are you talking about this? Like, that's crazy." Like you're looking at your grandma like she's crazy, right? And then another thing too is like, "Hey, can I go to the mall?" And my grandma would tell me, "Do you know that if we were to go to war right now, the first place they would bomb was the mall because there's so much people there?" So I want to share this with you because it seems like we're relating to it, but I was
yeah.
crying when I was writing my paper because I realized that my grandma didn't say it in the proper terms that would make me understand the real life of it, but she was saying it because she knew that there was men or women out there that can hurt, other people, that could want to do things to kids, and that she is a World War II survivor. So her saying like, "Oh, the first place they will go is the mall," like that was her like kind of protecting us because of her experience. So I'm glad that you said that. That's really good. Um, because another thing that I cover as well is I try to tell the young people to be mindful and to put themselves in the parent shoes, because it's like parents don't have a book to parenting. They don't have like this thing. It's just kind of trial and error and support, but not all parents have that kind of support. So it's just a matter of putting ourselves in their shoes. And of course, like we're looking at ourselves like we're kids. Why would we need to put ourselves in those kind of shoes? Like it should be this way, but it's like, no, we're not that special. Like it shouldn't be anyway. It should just be, as long as we're all happy and helping each other out. But thank you. Oh my God, you just turned the testimony on me. I was legit crying on my paper because I was like, she told me I couldn't go to the mall because that was the first place we were gonna get bombed. And then like having wrote the paper, I was like bawling because I realized like my grandfather and my grandma, they were around, they were little kids in World War II. Like my grandfather, he got kidnapped, he got taken to the camps, he's seen people getting hurt. My grandmother seeing, people getting raped, women getting raped or being used and abused, and I just couldn't imagine it. But anyways, listen to your parents, kids, and
Definitely. Yeah.
parents, parents, give your children a voice to speak.
Yeah. I that like looking into your parents' shoes is so important, because like I was saying earlier, it's like one of those things like you look back on the things that your parents wanted you to do and all these things that you're like, God, mom, that's crazy. That would never happen. But then you think about it and it did. And then it does happen, and then it's like, you know?
Yes, 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 yes. So I don't want to take up much more time away from you guys. I do want to go over any questions that is in the question box. So for anybody who's here, please fill those questions up. And usually, as everybody knows who listens to the podcast, I usually ask people if they can give advice to their teenage self. What would that be? But you're a teenager already. Um, so I guess we could kind of switch it up to make it more effective. If you can kind of like, I guess, ask the world for
The
like
world.
one thing, the world, just everyone as a whole. So this is like the world, everybody in general, and then that could be our community on Guam, family, friends, all of that. If you could let the world know one thing or ask the world one thing for you as a young person and the things that you're doing right now in your life, what would that be?
I guess a question that I would have, that's a really, difficult one, and I'm really thinking about that, like one question, well, I mean, there's a lot of things, and I do feel like as a Chamorro youth, like, even now, I feel like there's a lot of issues with like young Chamorros right now, and because we have phones and we keep seeing like how people are living in the States and stuff, you'll feel like we're not having enough fun, like I feel that way a lot all the time, because my mom, she's kind of strict, she's kind of strict, and she's like, "Where are you going? With who?" I don't know. See Angela? Who's Angela? Like my mom's kind of
Angela?
like, "Who's
Sounds
Angela?"
familiar.
Yeah. What's her last name? So and
Mm-hmm.
and then I had like, and then you see like people who are in the States are my white friends, are like white American friends, because I'm Mediterranean. I have like I'm Chamorro and Portuguese, so that's like, so I'm kind of like, I'm very light skinned. So, I see like a lot of my American friends and their parents, they're just gonna be like, "Okay, dad, I'm going, bye," and then they'll just leave. And it feels very like it, it just doesn't feel fair sometimes. And I'm dramatic. I'm a teenager, so I'm gonna say that. It doesn't feel fair. And then you think about
Say
it,
it.
and we go into the real world, and then these same white kids who got to have these very fun and exciting childhoods, now they're like, the world kind of works in their benefit, because they have that socioeconomic privilege of having come from white families. And so I guess like, what from a lot of, for the perspective of Chamorros who have dealt with that, who have dealt with that, felt like they weren't having enough fun, felt like, they weren't ever gonna have enough fun as, our white peers. How did you deal with that? Like, how did you not cry yourself to sleep? Like, I never got to have the bike riding experience,
Okay, yeah. So you're saying you're asking kids who are able to kind of like go out and have fun and have this freedom of just kind of like not having to tell anybody anything, or just kind of like deuces, I'm gone, I'll be back later. How did they deal with that?
Or how did Chamorro's who
Oh,
also
how
grew
did
up? Because
tomorrow?
yeah, like how did you guys, deal with that? Like seeing that as well? Because I know, like, you've probably dealt with that, and like kind of felt like, what you're doing, you didn't have enough fun, or like, and definitely like when you leave, and I kind of realized this with my friends, like, a lot of us are like, oh, okay, we're gonna have fun when we get into college, but then we realize like once we get into college, we're we're all like me and my friends, we're all queer tomorrows, like we're gonna get eat up, like how do you deal with like the idea of the world just not liking you as because you're as a minority and you know like a someone who's both because I'm bisexual, as someone who's both who's both bisexual and tomorrow, it's like it feels like the world's gonna be out to get you.
Can I answer your question?
Of course.
So, just for context, everybody, I'm from Guam as well. I was born and raised on Guam. I left Guam when I was 18 years old, and I've been experiencing the United States for about 10 years now. Um, so yeah, I'm Chamorro. I am a lesbian myself, and for your first question, Saul, as far as like how do you feel about not having that fun and those experiences? Honestly, when I was your age, I would ask that question as well, right? But I want to tell you now that I'm at the age that I'm 30 now and I've grown up. Like, yeah, there's those experiences that you may miss out on, or there's those experiences that you may not go through. But I think just making fun, however you can. And when I think back at it, it's like I couldn't go to the mall all the time. But when I think back at it, I remember that my friends called me later on at the mall because fucking Instagram, oops, because like security has them on hold because they got into trouble and they're like stealing and stuff. Or whenever I didn't go out to and there's different topics, there's different perspectives to it. But even going out to a party, it's like, the kids go out to the party and then next thing you know, my friend lets me know like, hey, like these guys all got into a fight and it was just like bleh, like can we come over? So, it's just like I guess I can't really speak directly to that because everybody's going to be different, but don't feel so sad if you miss out, and just embrace whatever you do have, because it might be a different situation for me. Because for me, when I think back about when I was younger, I wish I spent more time with my grandma and my grandpa compared to going out with like the people that I went out with. I had my handful of friends that were awesome and I was always with them and they're so great. But I do wish that I spent more time with them. I wish that instead of going out, I would have learned like chamorro recipes with my grandma. I wish that I would have like learned how to make things with my grandpa. So it might be different with you. Maybe, you do want to go out and experience that with your friends. Um, but yeah, just kind of like making fun as you see it to be fun. And if you can't go out, then that's okay. Maybe you can find other things to do. And one thing that my grandma always did, she was like, no, you can't go out with your friends, but I'll take you to the store. um, but besides from that, being a minority, I got a whole list for you, girl. Going because it's like it makes me so more it makes me more sad than frustrated. So being out, being a minority, being a different color, being bisexual, whatever the case is, don't let anybody, okay kids, listen up. Do not let anybody put you in a box for what you are. Don't let anybody give you a title for what you are. I know that we want to differentiate ourselves and we want to claim ourselves and our pronouns and our gender and the work we do and the lifestyle we live, but we all have to remember that that's just another word that creates another barrier and another like yeah, barrier to other people. It's like, why do I have to like be a lesbian? Why do I have to say that I'm tomorrow? Why can't I just be here and be me and you guys can get to know me like that? And eventually along the line, I will, of course, because I love my culture, I love my people, I love where I'm from. I'm going to share that, but never allow that if people are like, who is this girl over here that has this Guam backpack and there's this gay pride keychain or whatever, like embrace it, girl. And it's gonna feel uncomfortable, guys. It is gonna feel uncomfortable. It's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel lonely. But take it from me, and I hope that there's other people out there that are out of their teenage years that will let you guys know. Be who you are, love who you are. And I know that sounds like so cliche, or it's just like, that's not gonna work. My friends are still gonna diss on me. Those aren't your friends then. Those aren't your friends. Because I've had
That's
friends, and I'm gonna say it, right? I'm gonna say it for the sake of the young people out there, anybody out there. I know 30, 40-year-olds that are still in these friendships that it's not serving them, it's toxic, they're always arguing, they're not happy, and it's like, why are we keeping people around? It's that attachment. And with that being said, so I don't take up a little bit too much time, is that life is gonna be lonely sometimes. Life is gonna be so fucking lonely sometimes. I'm so sorry, Instagram. I just cussed. I'm sorry, soul. I get really creative.
oh,
Life is gonna be lonely. I'm experiencing it right now where it's like, F, I like, where is this person? Where is that person? Why can't my mom understand me from this position? Why can't my best friend understand me from this? Sometimes we're just gonna have to go on with things on our own and in our own ways. But you be who you are, you be the soul that you are. Never change. Any other people out there, Kyle, anybody else in this chat, you guys be who you are. It's gonna feel uncomfortable. Stick with it. Like I'm telling you, like stick with it. Cause when I was like going into college right now and I go into class and stuff, people like see me and they see that I have long hair, but then they see like I'm dressing like a boy and stuff. And then it's like they give me like this funny look on the first and second day. And then it's like now everybody be trying to sit with me. Like, no, I don't want to sit with you. Like, you weren't messing with me a day ago. Like, just kidding.
definitely. You see how people like change, like, ugh.
Yeah, and it's like just embrace who you are. And I'm saying that's all because I changed, right? I changed who I was. When I came out here to the States, my accent was like very heavy and all of that. And I just kind of like started adapting to like the American way, the United States way of things. But now I don't regret it. Now I am changing back to who I was and I'm embracing, my culture. I'm representing it and I'm just being me for who I am. There's a lot of things that I say where people will be like, you can't say that. And I'm like, who says I can't? Like, as long as you're not harming anybody or disrespecting anybody or putting anybody down, then we're good. So I hope that answered your question. Never ever change. Stay to who you are. And like I said, I know it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be challenging, it may feel lonely, people may look at you like you're crazy, but there's gonna be people out there that are gonna admire you for just being you. And those are the guys that you're gonna want around.
Thank you.
Woo! I think you're
Wow.
interviewing me. Oh my god, this is a good one, Soul. Kyle, are you still here? This is amazing.
Is Kyle here? I think Kyle's still here. Hi, Kyle.
So yeah, I am going to definitely cut that question out because I want to see what people have to say. I'm going to share it on my Instagram and my TikTok as well, and I will tag you guys on the responses. because I want to see all the different responses that come in. So I'm definitely going to cut that out, and I'll cut out my advice as well.
I'd love to
But I
see,
guess we can jump in. Uh-huh.
I'd love to see that as well. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, I'll tag you guys. Kyle here. I love Kyle. He's just like,
Hey,
check, I'm
Kyle.
here. I ain't going nowhere. Jared, are you still here? Because you're kind of distracting, bro. Jump off. So we'll go into the questions, guys, really quick, because I think we're running out of time. And then, Soul, you can just share with the people what we can expect from you guys, or anything to support you guys with as far as sharing or anything like that. Um, so doom. Pork Belly 122. What's one thing you're grateful for that Guam Youth Climate Strike has helped you with, Soul?
Me?
Great
Okay.
question.
So I've always wanted to do like really big projects. I've always had these big ideas, but it's very difficult. Like, environmentalism is not something that you can do on your own. And one thing I'm very grateful for, and I think I told Kyle this, I tell my team this all the time. I'm so grateful for them because they're all like-minded. Thing kind of cut out a bit. They're all very like-minded people who are very emotionally driven and determined people. And so, like the project I think I was talking about in the very, very beginning, the education project, they basically made that possible for me to do that project. So I'm very grateful for them, for them as people.
Awesome. That's amazing. I'm so glad that you were able to find them, so that way that they can help you further all the missions that you guys are trying to do. And I'm so proud of you, Soul. I'm so proud of you being 15 years old and wanting to make a change and to help others, because everything that you guys are doing, it is helping others in many different ways. So I'm so happy, and I'm so glad to hear that coming from such a young person.
Thank you so much.
Um, Any tips with collaborating with like-minded individuals?
Oh, that's a good
Oh,
one.
yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Tips for collaborating with like-minded individuals. Always just be open-minded. I guess like hear people out before you're immediately like that's not a good idea. Hear people out and cherish the people, because not only are they're individuals, they're like-minded, they're also humans too. And one thing I'm very grateful for is that the team I work with, not only are they also like-minded, but they also they're like-minded also in the sense that they understand the importance of emotions. And I remember like earlier this year I was going through a really bad breakup, and Kyle was like, you know what, if you want to take like a couple days just to not really be as present, you can do that. And I was like, thank you. I ended
Important.
up back like a week later because even more determined
Good
than I
job,
was.
Kyle.
Yeah, but like it's really important, to understand that they're also humans and they need breaks and they need to be listened to. Or, I was just talking to Boss last night, like we were talking about our emotions. Like we are so.
That's good. And honestly, I am so grateful, and I'm always going to let you guys, I'm so happy that you guys are, first of all, that Kyle recognized that, and that he gave you that opportunity. Like, hey, do you want to just take a couple days to just be? And then I'm so glad that you and Boz are talking about you guys' emotions. And I'm always going to advocate for that, because when I was younger, that wasn't around. It was always like, we don't really want to talk about our emotions, or it's like, what are emotions? Or it's like we kind of have to deal with it on our own. But I'm so grateful, because times have definitely changed. Mental health is definitely here. We are breaking barriers. We are breaking the silence. So good job to you guys. Woo, woo, woo. Um, so I guess I don't know when this is gonna cut off, but I want to make sure that the people follow any efforts or anything that you guys are doing. So do you guys have anything that you guys need support with as far as sharing on social, or anything to look out for?
Um, I guess looking out for you guys who are in high school. I don't know if any of you guys are in high school here, but we're doing a project where we're going to be talking about things like climate change. Emotional intelligence is a big one. I'm doing a lesson on exploring self-awareness and managing your stress and time and stuff. And so I think like if you're in high school, you should look out for those projects that are going to be coming around January and February. For y'all in college, consider joining the group. Every
Yes.
person is like highly appreciated.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Oh my gosh, I just missed this comment, but I see Island Girl Hustle. Being a girl of color is a powerful thing. We are making more impact in our own way.
I saw
Yes.
that. I read that, and it made my heart flutter a little bit. I was like, I saw that, and I was like,
No,
and
Island
highlight
Girl Hustle.
the our handles down there if you guys. It's down there.
Yes, yes. I'm going to share the handles as well. Look at Kyle. My man is on the go. I love you, Kyle. How can I pin that comment? But other than that, Island Girl Hustle, thank you for saying that comment. I do want all the colored girls out there to know it doesn't matter brown, yellow, purple, black, white. It doesn't matter what it is. I want you guys to know that everybody is different in their own way and everybody is beautiful. All the boys and girls are beautiful in their own specific way and in their own unique way, and we are all the same. We all go through the same things, but we all have a different gift within us and a different kind of like shine that the world definitely needs. So do not jump on any trends. Do not try. I know it's challenging, especially with social media. There can be a specific image that comes out on social media, but I want everybody to know that it starts with love. It starts with self-love. And if you just love yourself and if you believe in yourself, that's all that matters. Um, as far as
We should do a talk sometime talking about like, getting more into like dealing with being like a colored girl, or like a
yeah.
minority of, ethnic or like sexual
Ooh,
minority.
where's my
Let's that
pen?
we should have that talk. We should do that.
I'm trying. I want to write it down. I'm using an envelope, but I don't know where the pen is. I hope I remember. Remind me, because I would love that. And there's a lot of other people I know that are older people as well. Mark Erika VP, he is in here. He is amazing guy as well. Love is the answer always, as he
Always.
said. Yes.
Yes.
But we definitely should do that because we have Facebook, we have the pod, so I'm totally down for it. We can even do a panel discussion. I did my first
That
panel discussion last week on suicide survival. Amazing.
we should do a panel
Mark, do you
discussion.
have a pen? Yes, it was a
Yes.
panel discussion. We were interviewing somebody who survived suicide, which I am going to be editing and posting it up. But we had somebody who made it through self-harming for a couple of years, and so we questioned him with specific questions, and then the guys on the panel were just asking questions or saying comments relating to the topic at hand, and it was so amazing. Um, Island Girl Hustle, girl, I got you. Boy, girl, Islands Girl Hustle, I got you. Let's answer her question. If we're not in high school or college, could we still collaborate or participate?
Yes, we can definitely collaborate. Our group recently collaborated with the Micronesian Climate Change Alliance or Climate Alliance. Honestly, that was Kyle's thing. So we collaborated with them recently. We are thinking about joining the Fanohi Coalition, our organization. So we could definitely. I was looking at your comments and I was kind of making a mental note, like
Yes,
trans, like
yes.
I love to, and I love seeing your input in the chat. Like you definitely seem like someone that we would love to do work with, and I'm gonna like immediately be like, Kyle, did you see that? We need to do that.
Save her. Save her handle because we definitely Island Girls Hustle. If you're interested in coming onto the panel discussion, with just talking about advice to like colored girls or boys or whatever Soul said, we'd love to have you on as well. And I just want to thank everybody for coming on. Thank you everybody for the comments. Thank you Soul. Thank you Kyle. Thank you Boz. I know everybody is not here. I appreciate Guam's Youth Climate Strike and everything that they're doing. For anybody listening on the podcast, puff a butt, please go add Guam's Youth Climate Strike and check out all the work we're doing. Soul, do you have any last words to say before we go?
Um, you guys, love is so important, and keep doing your things, and expect to see that panel come out soon. Okay, bye. Thank you so much.
Kyle, she's telling everybody already, like, expect to see the panel, guys. Expect
Expect
it.
it. It's a matter of when, not if. Thank you
Yes.
guys, and thank you so much for having me on this morning or evening, afternoon. I don't know what time it is
Morning,
there.
morning and evening.
Great opportunity, and I was so happy to participate in this. Thank you so much.
Of course. Before you go, I love your earrings. Where are they from?
Oh,
Is
I
that
actually made
Sailor
them. They're just
Moon?
little like keychains.
Is that Sailor?
Yeah,
You made them?
they're like they're little keychains that
You do. You
I
have
don't
a
remember where they came.
store. Is that
Huh?
from your Instagram? You said you made them?
Yeah.
I love them. I'm definitely going to check them out. Christmas is along the way, and I'm really trying my best to support small business. So, since we're in that
Oh, that would
conversation, I think it was
be cool.
destiny to mention that, guys. Please, friendly reminder. I know everyone's starting to do their Christmas shopping. Please use a small business. Please use a family business. Put your money into there. Amazon is making so much money right now with this pandemic, and I'm gonna come out and say I've been utilizing Amazon so much myself. I just got a package from them, like throughout this week too. So
Either.
yes, yes. So that's amazing. Message me your Instagram page for your earrings because I want to check it out and I will tag you guys. And
I
yes, and in the group chat, just message me any of Kyle or anybody's information if you guys would like to share your social handles.
thank you so much. Have a nice rest of your
Thank you so
day or
much.
night.
Yes, I'm so Soul. I'm so happy for you. Kyle, Guam's Youth Climate Strike. I am so happy for you guys. I am so grateful that you guys are doing what you guys are doing. Keep doing whatever it is you guys are doing, even though people say that's not the way to do it or whatever, it doesn't look the right way or what. Keep doing what you guys are doing.